Hello everybody, my name's Konaminika. You know the song and dance at this point. More LEGO One Piece. I'm loving these sets so far and I'm excited to get to this one because we're starting to get a little bit bigger and a little bit meatier because today we are taking a look at the $80 battle at Arlong Park. Yeah, we're looking at the finale of the series. Yay! The Arlong Park set, I'm really excited for it. I really like some of the ideas that they are spinning with in this model from what I can see from the outset. So I'm excited to get into it a little bit more. I'm Italian now. Oop-a-doop-a-doo. Anyways, obviously we're starting off with the box. At the front of the box, we get the usual sort of render. We get this little hill in the image to separate the Usopp and Chu fight from everything else, and we get the usual nice painterly sky background, and then a render of the set itself. In the corners, we get our little map decal sort of dealios. This side has the LEGO One Piece logo, which is nice. This side shows you every figure that comes in the set. Monkey D. Luffy, Nami, Usopp, Arlong, and Chu. All of them are technically exclusive. The Luffy feels very similar to other Luffys that we'll be seeing, but he has stretchy arms, so it's fine. We have a render of Iñaki Godoy's Luffy right here, and here we have the stats. This is a video for adults, but that's the age range for the set, so you can get it for your child, I guess. It's set number 75638, The Battle at Arlong Park. It consists of 926 pieces, and it's a building toy. On the top, you get your 1-to-1 scale Arlong right here, and you get some information about where parts are from, as well as translation stuff. On the bottom, you just get some usual, like, recycle the box, go to the app, Netflix. On this side, you get that same wonderful piece of art from the previous ones, as well as the set number and the fact that it's from One Piece. On this side, you get more translated stuff, mainly for the posters, and a choking hazard, don't eat the toy. On the back, it shows you everything the set can do. It has 3 random wanted posters. You can punch out the holes in the box to get it all going. You've got the shooting gallery. You've got the battle between Usopp and Chu. You've got the shark attack throne for Arlong. You've got the map room for Nami. You got this little sitting area for fishmen with a Dundun Meshi. And you have the main gimmick of the set, the tower itself falling apart, which I'm really excited to see. But that's the box. Hopefully this wasn't too long for you. So without further ado, why don't we get into that build, shall we? So I'll see you in a little bit. And we are back over here with the set all built up. Hopefully the speed build or whatever wasn't too much of a wash. This was an interesting build for sure. The first 2 bags make up all of the side builds, which is surprisingly little to be fair. With basically, it's 8 bags total, with the other 6 bags going entirely into the primary pagoda. Overall, the build was fun. These helped to have a little bit of like fun little diversions while not taking up too many parts. Meanwhile, the Central Pagoda, while it looks like it could theoretically be repetitive, wasn't too bad, all things considered. With thanks to a mixture of the nice dilapidation on the lower layer and the upper layers having itself split generally fairly well, since you're doing essentially this side, then the top. These windows, again, they don't really pose too much of a problem during the build process. The problem is that those sort of window tiles, I think, from what I've heard, they were remolded recently to be easier to put in, but in doing so, they have become far too loose. They pop out far too easily, and especially with a toy with such a destructive play gimmick, which I do generally like and we'll get to in a second, it doesn't feel the greatest, so just keep that in mind. You might want to use a little bit of like paint or super glue to like slightly thicken up the pegs in these window panes. But I think it's about time we get to the minifigures, because oddly enough, while not all exclusive characters, all of the figures are pretty dang exclusive. I'm going to start with the least exclusive figure here. This is the Luffy that comes in this set. He's mostly an amalgamation of other things. We've seen the sort of torso leg set up before, even though I'm pretty sure this torso is technically considered a separate mold because of this. But the head is something we haven't quite seen yet, but also appears in the Baratier, and the hairpiece is the same hairpiece he's had since Windmill Village. He has a smile, a nice broad smile on the back of his head that does feel very Luffy, and I'm glad is there, as well as a more angry face, which, again, also works for Luffy. But the main thing you're getting out of this set is these stretchy arms. They feel fairly nice. You're not getting any bendy wire poses out of them. They're just kind of there, but they are loose enough in the torso that you're able to swivel them around, punch around with them, and just generally have a good time. They have some mold flashing, which I'm not super into, and these little arm things that act as essentially stoppers so it can stay in the torso. Don't look the greatest on a fully skinned character as much as they do on a character like these figures have previously had, where they have gloves, but I'll live for the time being. It's nice to have this Luffy, and I'm glad that he's not in every set. I'm glad that this is a one-off sort of thing that is there, because obviously you should do it to represent his gum powers, but I was worried that it would be in every set, but thankfully it isn't. So we have normal Luffys as well. Getting a little bit newer, and this figure is also just 100% exclusive, essentially, outside of like the face print. We have Usopp. We finally have an Usopp. It's very fun that we get Usopp here in this set, because we're, funnily enough, kind of going in order of getting all the Straw Hats. We started with Luffy, then we got Zoro and Nami, now we've got Usopp, and then we'll get Sanji next time, but this is a nice Sanji, Usopp, sorry. It is an exclusive Usopp, mainly through the torso print, as well as the headband color. He's got this green headband / hairpiece, which is very nicely done and looks just like Usopp from the live action. Very intricate sculpting here in the hair strands that are coming out of the cap. It doesn't feel too detailed, it doesn't feel too thick. This is probably my favorite new hair mold in the entire line. But the torso isn't bad either. Obviously he's wearing this satchel, which is kind of blocking a little bit of it, but the nice flower print I feel feels fairly applicable for a lot of minifigures, and it's nice that it is available here. He also has dual molded arms with a very nice, I should say, the skin tone, very good on this. It's a very nice plastic with a very nice brown color that again fits the Usopp actor. I forget his name. The only actors I think I know off the top of my head. Shoot. I'm trying to think of the actor names. I'll look it up for next time. He has plain tan, gray pants, but again, I'm not super picky about some of the pants choices on these characters. On to, I think, my least favorite minifigure of the entire line. We have one of the Fisherman Pirates, Chew, and I mean, they did their best, I think, outside of one part. He does have single arm printing, which I didn't mention on Usopp, actually. He has his little armband right there on his arm, which is very appreciated. Yeah, he has the Sawfish tattoo, which is right there. Very appreciated. It's not on the other arm, but I don't think I need any more crazy printing. His torso does also look nice. It exposes his blue skin, so it's not super reusable, but it does fit for Chew. The face print looks a little... Oh yeah, I also didn't look at his face prints. He's got this very confident smile for Usopp. But also very fearful. This is one of my favorite minifigures, I think, in the line, because this just feels very in line for who Usopp is. Either blindingly, goofily confident, or scared as hell. But yeah, Usopp is great. Chew, I also do generally like the face print. It's a little uncanny, but I mean, He's a fish man. He has an alternate face print where it's not super different, but he's like spitting his like fireballs from his mouth that he's just drinking from this bottle for. My biggest problem, I think, is the hair. It is this shorter hair piece, which I thought it was longer in promotional images, but the real hair thickness problem that I've been noting throughout a bunch of the previous sets really strikes here. This isn't a new hairpiece. This is like a friend's hairpiece. You can tell from the little hole for like accessories. I'm not saying this is a bad hairpiece that can't be used on minifigures. It just doesn't really fit Chew. I feel like the sort of smaller or a thinner hairpiece would work better because his hair is really thin and raggly, and this just looks far too full to really feel like Chew. But it is nice to get a Chew. I do wish we got the other Fishman pirate who is in the live action, the one who fights Sanji, but it's fine. Next up, though, is a character who feels kind of obligated to be here, given the name of the set and given his importance to One Piece overall. We, of course, have Arlong. For some, he may be a bit small, just because the live action is already small, so having a small just a normal minifigure-sized character, ooh, that's tough to get off. There we go. You kind of got it because it's rubbery, and the neck on mine is interestingly loose. But yeah, he seems a bit small for some people. The bigger problem, I think, is that he's so purple. I think this is a mixture of... This is mainly from the color grading of the live action. Normally, Arlong's pretty blue. You can see it on this Wanted poster, which we'll get to. Yeah, he's usually pretty blue. In a lot of things, but then the color grading in the live action makes him seem like a bluish purple, so this minifigure went way on the purple, which isn't ideal, but I do think still works for Arlong, especially since he does still have the sawfish tattoo, and I imagine in part it was to help differentiate him from Chew, so that we don't just have two blue fishmen. But the torso print is very good. It looks, again, like Arlong. I kind of wish we got a little bit of the sun tattoo as well, but for people, what I think is a little bit more pressing, it's not focusing, sorry, is the face print, where the nose is just printed on. Initially, I didn't like it, but it's grown on me. Arlong isn't my favorite minifigure in the line, but I think the smile and this sort of aggressive frown both work for Arlong. I do kind of wish he had his sword, but final minifigure, though, is the one that, while obviously it's not the most craziest produced, I'm most impressed got in. Here we have Arlong Park Nami. This is just such... I've gushed about this, I believe, in my initial reaction, which you can watch on the second channel. But, God, it is really cool to have this Nami. This is a very important look and a very important moment for Nami. This really solidifies her as part of the crew and, like, is a big emotional moment that gets a lot of One Piece fans into the series, like, really, really into the series. So just accurately depicting that is really good. We have her green shirt and sleeveless look. On this arm, since this is meant to be during the battle, her arm is bandaged up with a nice little print that didn't have to be there, but I'm glad is because it really helps represent this version of Nami. She has the straw hat on her back. If I'm to have any complaints, is that I kind of wish there was a little bit more printing on the pants, mainly to have the circles on the side, but it's fine, because it all gets washed away when I look at this fucking face print. They're having the characters cry. We saw this with Luffy in his big emotional moment, and now with Nami in her big emotional moment, she's allowed to cry as well. She, of course, has a smiling face, which is nice to have, but god damn it. For me, one of the most important pieces of One Piece is just how vigorously characters can cry sometimes. It's nice to see characters just get emotional sometimes, and just, like, you can really feel them as characters. And especially in this moment, Nami breaking down, cursing at Arlong, before eventually asking Luffy for help, is such an important scene for so many people, including myself, so that this is just great to have, and makes a lot of the set worth it, honestly. Anyways, let's get into that set, because there's a lot going on. Again, like I said, these 4 little side builds take up only 2 bags worth of stuff, which is really interesting. First off, this is really the justification to get Chew and Usopp into this set. It's the little forest scene that happens a little ways away from the primary pagoda area, and feels the most side-buildy of the side builds to me, and like the most unnecessary, but it doesn't really do much. It has this tree, which I guess you can have fall down to help Usopp hide. It has the ketchup bottle right there, and it has this really nicely constructed, like, thin tree that I do really like. But this isn't anything too crazy special. I do like this big plate in olive green, though. We have a pair of the carnival games, which again, for this version of Arlong Park, feels a lot more important. Rather than being like a side build of like just something extraneous for the overall scene. These being here feel like it fleshes out the actual pagoda. Something very interesting about the One Piece line, actually, is that it is very light on, like, doing extraneous side builds. Like, you'll see something in Ninjago or something, where it'll have the big robot or whatever, and then it'll have, like, a small little villain side build because there's no real other villain representation. But outside of there just being a lot of villain builds in this One Piece line, we've got this and Buggy. That's 2 of the 5 sets being villain builds. Anyways, all the side builds, in a lot of them, are just integral pieces of what they are. So you're basically just putting all the parts into making sure that Arlong Park is the best that it can be, which I think I appreciate. But anyways, we have the 2 carnival games. The most boring one is the Shark Attack, sort of throne for Arlong. This has enough space so you can fit his fin. It's nice and custom built with these studs on the side techniques that are really nice. That also gets a really nice shaping in the seat. And I also really like the way that this sort of consistent candlestick motif is just held throughout these little bar pieces, which is very nice and feels surprisingly sturdy, all things considered. Having the candles just light around him also feels very smart and very nice, and I like it. But the more functional of the 2 is the shooting gallery. So the shooting gallery, first off, gives us 2 of our wanted posters, which are 2, this set's all whammies. I hate to spoil it. We got another Don Krieg, and we got 2 more Arlongs, which, I mean, I was planning to put at least a Arlong into this set. Hopefully I don't get any more Arlongs, and I can move one of these to the Baratier, because that's 3 Arlongs so far, and that's a little worrying. I don't think I'll get all of the posters, and if I don't, I'll just either buy more Buggy sets to make a more full circus tent, or just buy them on Bricklink when they're more readily available. But anyways, we have the shooting gallery, which these are able to stay up fairly well. Obviously, if you get a little rough, you can tighten them, but obviously they can get knocked down by this. You get a stud shooter set up kind of like a cannon, but it works fine. This is able to roll, and this works the way you expect a stud shooter to. I might have lost that, but it's a stud shooter with black studs. You know how these work. But yeah, you can knock down these targets. Nice fun little game that I appreciate. There's a sticker back there that shows this, like, bear. I'm pretty sure they're accurate to what is there, just slightly Lego-fied, and something I really appreciate. Shooting gallery sign is fine. I like that this is a Lego shark. That's really fun. But then the final sign build that I didn't really get to mention quite yet, because this really feels like a part of the main pagoda, is this. It's just a basic little sitting area. You can just have the fishmen lounging around, because this is a place for them to hang out, you know, for part of the series, even though they are a bunch of assholes. It's got this little bit of shade, it's got a chair, it's got this, it's got a drink, and it's got a Dun Meshi. I don't super, I don't really super dig using this generic snail mill that they also introduced for, it was for Animal Crossing. The shell does look about right for the snail phone aspect of it. I just kind of wish I was able to see eyes and a mouth on the snail body. But otherwise, it works fine. But that all brings us to the main feature of the set, the Central Pagoda. Obviously, we have one more wanted poster, which I'm going to make this bigger. The Arlong Park Central Pagoda, the main image you think of when you think of Arlong Park, so it makes sense that they would include it. I really like the dilapidation down here, the nice little bits of gappage, and like these, which they correspond to the actual gaps, these little blue pieces on the floor, which is very impressive. Yeah, we got Arlong and these little chips in the wall, and the pagoda is also very cleverly constructed. Like, yes, there's a gap in the center, but it's also somewhat disguised by there being a lot of gaps throughout the overall construction of the pagoda. Like, there's that and there's that, which really help to sell its sort of dilapidated state, where as much as it seems like through the veneer that Arlong puts on, that it's gonna stay there forever and be this impenetrable fortress, it's only waiting to come down, which we'll get to in a second. The Arlong themed stickers do look nice. I don't really like how that's a sticker. I kind of wish it was just printed on, as for now it looks a little bit lopsided, but it's fine. This has a dilapidated look anyways, so I'll be fine with it. We already mentioned the windows, but yeah, I really like the way that these little arches are made. I like these bigger plate pieces, which really helps to give the effect, but I do really like the sort of dilapidation, because it helps the overall build to not feel as like symmetrical and not feel as like repetitive, even though it is very intelligently done within the instructions to, again, make it feel like you're not being super repetitive. I think it's very smartly designed. But yeah, let's turn it around though, before we get to the main function, which you've kind of already seen. On the inside, there's really only one room. It would have been nice to have more rooms, but I'll live, I think. I might have constructed some of the inside here wrong. Yeah, we'll deal with that later. For now, what I want to talk about is we only have one floor. It's fine. It would have been nice to have more floors as a tower, but how should I say this? We really only see the map room, especially in the live action. And while he does get pounded through the floor, I'd rather just have at least the map room with some very clever construction of these little bits. But yeah, the map room is fairly cleverly designed. It looks like the map room, while not being too much. We have some maps on the walls, which add a little bit of nice detail while not being too overbearing. And you can easily fit Nami in here with her chains, which very funny that it was mentioned. But up here, the only real visual downside I really feel is that I kind of wish these were in a separate color rather than just yellow. I don't know if that's a stability thing, but it's fine. It's whatever. It's nice that it has an interior at all, mainly so that you can have your Arlong and Luffy's just kind of role-play fighting. But the main goal of this model is as follows. It's a very clever mechanism. So first off, it's fairly sturdy. Like, if you get too rough with it, it will fall apart, but it locks itself in if, like, you're like this until that happens. But we'll get there. So the main goal is it does a good job of capturing how it works in the show. So as much as this has stretchy arms for like a Gum Gum Gatling or a Gum Gum pistol, in order to destroy the tower, he actually uses his legs, doing a kick attack known as the Gum Gum Battle Axe, where he kicks his foot high up into the air before stomping it down on Arlong, bringing the tower down for one final attack. And it actually emulates that in the way the play feature works. So, part 1. The primary lock is this little tower bit here, the little top of the tower. This is the main bit that Luffy kicks through when he kicks through the Arlong Park pagoda. So as he kicks through it, it falls down. So you can just unlock it by knocking down that top of the tower. That's the first thing you do, as if he kicked through it. And then you take a minifigure right here, and you press down, and there goes one of the windows, and probably multiple of the windows. Again, those windows are really annoying to lose, and then have to get back on. God, that's frustrating. I'm not going to be doing it too much, but because of these fucking windows. However, it works fairly well, and I really like the way that it comes down overall. Windows notwithstanding, it's just so clever, and feels like they were paying attention to the series when making these sets super closely to make them feel right. And that just astounds me and makes me love these sets even more than I would even as just a One Piece fan. So I think that about wraps up the set. I might have built something wrong in there, but I'll deal with that in a second. But I hope you enjoyed this little video. That's Arlong Park. I wanted to end with the destruction because I kind of had to. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Do let me know through the usual YouTube means, like, comment, subscribe. There's going to be a little bit more where this came from because there are still 2 more sets in the line. And plus I have other ideas which might not come to fruition, but hopefully they will. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video nonetheless. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!